Millionaire CEO recognizes black woman by the mark on her hand and reveals shocking secret. Lily stood, heart pounding, in the grand hall of Crestwood. It was her wedding day, the day she had dreamed of since childhood. A pristine white gown hugged her frame, every detail perfect. Guests whispered and beamed, the air thick with joy and disbelief. He took a step back, eyes wide. "I can't do this," he breathed, the words slicing through the jubilant atmosphere, leaving a gaping wound in their world. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her heart sank like a stone. Betrayal twisted in her gut. She felt as though the entire hall was crumbling around her, chandeliers swaying ominously, as if echoing the turmoil inside her. Lily's hands trembled, the delicate lace of her dress whispering as she tried to regain composure. But the tears came, quiet at first, then a flood of emotions poured out. A mix of confusion, anger, and an overwhelming sadness that enveloped her. "Why?" she finally choked out, voice barely above a whisper, but the room thundered with the weight of her desperation. Brian turned, faced the guests, and slowly walked away, leaving her standing in a storm of shocked faces. Days morphed into weeks, yet Lily remained a ghost of herself. The cafe she had dreamed of, named Calm, felt like a distant fantasy. She crushed coffee beans, the rich aroma filling the air, but it couldn't drown her despair. People whispered about her, judging her for a love that had shattered like glass. Just when she thought the darkness would consume her, she met Caleb. His presence was like a lighthouse in a storm. With deep-set eyes and a calming smile, he listened while she poured out everything, the hurt. Together they began to craft the vision of calm, infusing it with her hopes, dreams, and a hint of promise for a better tomorrow. As they delved deeper into their journey, the atmosphere shifted. One day, Caleb stumbled upon an old document, dusty and faded. It revealed a shocking family connection that bound them. Lily was a beneficiary in his late father's will. The news rippled through both of them, raw and electric. They stared at each other in disbelief. Was this fate? Or another twist of the knife? Meanwhile, Brian was not finished with his cruel games. He plotted an elaborate smear campaign, twisting truths into something unrecognizable, staining Lily's name. The pressure mounted, and Lily felt herself teetering on the edge of two worlds, one defined by pain and the other by budding love and possibility. Caleb stood by her side, unwavering, but Chloe's eyes reflected flickers of doubt. Would she have the strength to confront her past? As shadows of Brian's retaliation loomed, whispers of hope danced on the horizon. The stakes were high, and just as Lily found her footing, the ground beneath her shifted again. In the heart of a cafe named Calm, in the eye of this brewing storm, what would she choose? Would she fight for her dignity and love against the chaos? The challenge loomed larger than life, and a question hung heavy in the air. What secrets had the future yet to reveal? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without prior notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this? I love getting to know every amazing. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lily stood in the heart of Calm, her cafe bright with promise yet heavy with uncertainty. The soft hum of chatter surrounded her as she fidgeted with the edge of her apron, her mind racing. Caleb was at her side, sketching plans for their upcoming launch, but her thoughts drifted back to Brian's betrayal. The shadows of the past loomed large, threatening to drag her under again. Suddenly, the door swung open, and in walked a man wearing an expensive suit. He scanned the room as if searching for something, or someone. Lily's breath caught in her throat as the man approached, his eyes locking onto hers with unsettling intensity. "Lily Mason?" he asked, his voice smooth and commanding. The cafe fell silent. The air shifted. She could feel every gaze in the room drilling into her. "Yes," she replied, her heart hammering. "Who was this man?" "I'm Richard Hayes, a financial consultant," he said, introducing himself with a slight bow. "I've come to discuss your family's estate." "Estate? What estate?" she sputtered, confusion washing over her. Richard's expression turned serious. "It's about your late mother. There are significant assets tied up in a trust that you inherited." Lily's mind whirled. Her mother had always been private about family matters. What kind of wealth was he talking about? "Your mother was part of something extraordinary," Richard continued, his tone grave. "There are properties, investments, and hidden truths. But that's not all." He hesitated, searching her face for a reaction. "What do you mean?" Richard stepped closer, lowering his voice almost to a whisper. "She was connected to a prominent investment group, one that your fiancé Brian has ties to. He's been using that connection to undermine you and your cafe." Gasps erupted from the crowd, but Lily felt her body freeze. "You're lying," she shouted, the heat of anger rising. "How could Brian, someone she once loved, be involved in this?" "It's all in the records," Richard insisted, pulling out a sleek tablet and scrolling through documents. "You're not just dealing with a broken engagement. This goes deeper than you realize." As she peered at the screen, words like fraud and manipulation flashed before her eyes. Tears pooled as they connected the dots. Brian had not only betrayed her emotionally, but was also meddling with her family's legacy, seeking to destroy it. But before she could absorb this new revelation, chaos erupted outside. A loud crash echoed through the cafe. Glass shattered, chairs clattered. Something was happening. Panic set in. People scrambled to seek shelter as the door burst open again, revealing a group of men in dark clothing. They were shouting, waving documents, demanding something. "Get out of our way," one of them growled, his gaze darting around the room. "We're here for Lily Mason." Lily's heart plummeted. Who were these men? Were they connected to Brian? A cold sweat broke out on her forehead as the group approached, their expressions fierce and intent. Caleb stepped forward, protective instinct kicking in. "You'll have to go through me first," he shouted, positioning himself in front of her. "Back off," one of the men sneered, pushing Caleb aside like he was nothing. Lily's chest tightened. She was trapped between a chaotic present and an uncertain future. The shadows of her past were closing in, and she had no idea how to fight back. "Lily, don't," Richard called, but it was too late. One of the men grabbed her wrist, pulling her towards the door while chaos swirled around her. As they dragged her out, she caught a glimpse of the world outside, the storm gathering, the darkness closing in. In that instant, everything she thought she knew shattered. The stakes were higher than she imagined. Who could truly be trusted? All she could think was, what had she gotten herself into? And what secrets still lay hidden, waiting to unravel her life further? As they dragged Lily out into the chaos, her mind raced. She turned back to see Caleb trying to fend off the men, his bravery stirring something deep within her. But fear sliced through the air. She couldn't let him get hurt. A part of her screamed for him to run, escape this madness. "Let go of me," she shouted, fighting against the iron grip on her wrist. "What do you want?" The men ignored her, their focus locked on the door. The cafe buzzed with panic, voices clashing in fear. Customers scrambled for exits, chairs toppled over in a storm of chaos. Her heart thundered as her surroundings blurred, but one thing felt painfully clear. She had to fight back. Just as they reached the threshold, a loud crash echoed behind her. The cafe's front window shattered, shards of glass raining down like glittering daggers. A tall figure stepped through the jagged opening, silhouetted by the flickering sunlight. Face masked in shadow, an intruder in the unfolding nightmare. "Get away from her," the figure bellowed, voice booming with authority. The words sounded familiar, stirring a forgotten memory deep inside her. Before she could process this sudden twist, the mysterious figure lunged forward, arms sweeping in a powerful arc. The men released her involuntarily as they turned, faces going pale, recognition dawning across them. "It's him! We need to go!" one of them shouted, panic marking his tone. They stumbled back, looking like cornered rats. Lily watched as the figure ripped the mask from his face, revealing a likeness she couldn't comprehend. It was her estranged father, Richard Mason, absent and wrapped in family secrets, lost for years. The breath caught in her throat. "Dad?" she whispered, disbelief flooding her voice. "What are you doing here?" "I came for you, Lily," he confessed, eyes wide and frantic. "You're in danger. Brian is not who you think he is." Those words stabbed into her heart. The world spun anew. Her past swirled like leaves caught in a storm. He stepped forward to embrace her, but she recoiled, grappling with shock and confusion. Questions churned in her mind. How could he just show up now? Why hadn't he been there before? "You don't know the truth about your mother, or about Brian," he shouted, urgency dripping from every word. "They are tied to things that could destroy you, and you can't trust anyone." To say chaos ensued would be an understatement. The men, caught off guard, hesitated, and the energy shifted. Lily felt the weight of her father's warning land like a heavy stone, rippling through the room. "Who are you really? What are you hiding?" Lily's voice trembled, anger replacing shock. "You left me. You left us." "Lily, please," his voice cracked with desperation. "I didn't want to, but it was for your protection. Things are darker than you know. We need to leave now." The men were rallying, regrouping. Tension crackled like static, and all eyes were on them. Would they fight? Would they run? Lily was torn between outraged disbelief and the remnants of a flickering trust for the father she barely remembered. Then time stretched thin as one of the men lunged, reaching for her once more. It all happened at once, a shout, a flash of movement, the sound of fists and feet colliding, and through it all, the jagged truth unspooled in front of her. Who she knew as family had changed. Shields were down, and darkness loomed. "Lily!" Caleb's urgent voice pierced through the mayhem, grounding her as she stood at the threshold of choice. Would she let the past consume her, or would she fight for her future? As the dust settled around her, it felt like everything she'd built and known teetered on the edge, urging her to make a decision that could change everything. But one question echoed louder than the rest. What other secrets were waiting to come crashing in? Lily stood at the edge of chaos, heart racing, anger boiling. Her father's eyes searched hers, pleading. Was she supposed? Just as one lunged forward again, a sharp crack shattered the air like thunder, followed by a searing light that momentarily blinded her. The wall next to them exploded outward, bricks and dust flying. A flash of red and blue whirled in, sirens blaring, voices shouting orders. Police had arrived. Relief washed over her, mixing with confusion as officers stormed in, guns drawn, demanding answers. "Everyone down, get on the ground," one shouted, and panic flared in the cafe. Customers screamed, chairs clattered to the ground, and people dove for cover. The chaos multiplied in an instant. The men who had grabbed Lily scrambled away, their previous bravado deflating into pure terror. "Lily, stay back!" Caleb's voice cut through the noise as he positioned himself protectively in front of her, eyes fierce. But just as she felt a swell of safety, the unimaginable happened. One of the men, cornered and desperate, turned on Richard, her father. "You think you can protect her after everything? You're nobody to her." He pulled something from his jacket, a glimmering device that looked like a remote. Her heart dropped. "What are you doing?" "Stop!" Richard yelled, lunging at the man. But it was too late. The man pressed a button. A sudden jolt coursed through the room. Every device in the cafe, a phone, a tablet, even the lights, buzzed and flickered violently, plunging the space into darkness. Gasps echoed as confusion reigned. Then came the explosion. It wasn't loud, but a heavy, rolling wave that knocked everyone off their feet, sending her sprawling across the ground. Glass shattered everywhere. A hot rush of air swept through, biting at her skin, and the smell of burnt metal filled her nostrils. As the dust settled, the reality of the scene tore through her mind. People were on the floor, scrambling to get up. Caleb was just a few feet away, and for a moment, she was frozen, hardly comprehending the chaos. And then she noticed a figure moving slowly from behind the wreckage, rising to their full height. It was Brian. His shirt was torn, hair disheveled, but there was a spark in his eyes, something dark and stimulating. "You think this is over?" he shouted, voice rising over the shock and disbelief in the air. "You don't understand what I've done, what plans I had for you, Lily." "What?" Lily breathed, panic clawing at her throat. "You did this? You set all this up?" "Set up?" he laughed, mad and wild. "No, my dear, I was always just the beginning. You have no idea who you belong to or what you really are." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. The scattered memories, the whispers from her mother, her father's secrets now wrapped in this tangled web. Did Brian know something she didn't? The officers were regrouping, the remaining men retreating, but Lily felt the world crumbling. Caleb reached for her, a look of urgency. "Lily, we have to go, now." But as she looked back at Brian, the tension coiled tighter. "You'll regret this," Brian hissed, eyes flashing with a promise of something more sinister. "You're more than just a cafe owner, more than just Lily Mason." And with that, everything around her distorted, shifting into something sharper, darker. What had Brian uncovered? What other truths hid beneath the surface of her family? The explosion shook her to her core, but the explosion of Brian's words unleashed a tempest that would change everything. Lily's heart pounded, questions swirling. Could she trust her father? What if Brian spoke the truth? In her gut, a gnawing dread knotted tight. As she turned, desperately seeking a way to escape the storm of revelations, all she could think was, what was her true identity? And what path was now set on fire before her? The stakes were higher than she ever imagined. And now she had to figure out if she was strong enough to face whatever dark secrets awaited her. Lily stood, frozen in the chaos of shattered glass and screaming voices. Her heart raced as Brian's words clung to her mind, nagging and taunting. "You don't understand what I've done, what plans I had for you." The reality of the moment pressed down like a weight, every second stretching unnaturally long. Caleb was by her side, eyes fierce, body tense. She wanted to reach out, to tell him everything would be okay, but fear locked her voice away. Brian's laughter echoed, unsettling in the frantic atmosphere. Then, without warning, a gunshot rang out. The sound cut through the air, piercing and sharp. Time stopped. Lily's heart skipped a beat, the world snapping back into focus with a jolt. She turned, eyes wide, to see one of the men drop to the ground, clutching his leg, a look of sheer shock crossing his face. The cafe went silent, confusion thickening the air. "Who shot?" someone gasped, glancing around wildly. As if on cue, another figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, tall and imposing, dressed in sleek black. Her hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and she held a weapon steady. "Everyone stay back." Her voice cut through the whispers, confident and clear. Step away from her. Recognition flared in Lily's chest. It was Michelle, a private investigator her mother had once trusted. The woman her mother had warned her about. A sense of dread gripped Lily tighter. "Michelle," she called, incredulous. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to get you out of this mess," Michelle replied, eyes darting rapidly between the chaos, gauging threats. "And to keep you safe." "Safe?" Brian spat, anger tightening his jaw. "You think you can just take her away? She's mine." "No, she's not," Michelle challenged, stepping forward, addressing the crowd with authority. "She doesn't belong to anyone after what your family has done." At the mention of your family, the air crackled with tension. Brian's face twisted in fury. "What are you talking about? You don't know anything." Just then, the men Brian had brought gathered themselves, closing in, eyes darting with malevolence. Tension thickened. "Get them!" Brian shouted, eyes wild. Lily felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with something else. Recognition. What did Michelle mean about her family? Before she could voice the question, a loud boom echoed from the back of the cafe. Smoke poured in, filling her lungs, blurring her vision. People screamed, and chaos exploded anew. As they stumbled out of the way, Lily felt a pull from behind her, an instinct she couldn't ignore. It was Caleb, reaching for her hand, but in that moment, a body collided into hers. She stumbled, falling hard to the ground. A flash of movement caught her eye. Michelle was in a struggle with one of the men, the gun swinging wildly. The air crackled with danger. Then, in an instant, it happened. A shot fired, but not from Michelle's gun. The sound slammed into her ears. Time slowed again as everything came into sharp focus. The bullet hit Brian. He staggered back, wide-eyed, hand clutching his chest. Blood seeped through his fingers, pooling on the floor. Lily gasped, the world spinning. Brian tumbled onto the ground, eyes glassy, disbelief carved into his expression. In the chaos, she looked at Caleb, words caught in her throat. What just happened? And then came the question that struck her deep. Could Michelle be right? Was there a darker truth to her family's history? The cafe filled with panic. Sirens wailed outside. Darkness mingled with confusion. As the crowd surged, Lily's world tilted. Everything she thought she understood shattered in an instant. What had she stepped into? What secrets had her family buried? Would she dare to uncover the truth? Or would she run from the shadows, deeper into the unknown? With Brian's blood staining the floor, the stakes had never been higher. Lily stood, her breath feeling like jagged glass in her chest. Brian lay crumpled on the floor, blood pooling around him, painting the cafe's tiles a sinister red. She wanted to scream, to cry, but instead, her eyes were glued to the horror unfolding before her. Caleb tightened his grip on her hand, his warmth grounding her in the chaos. "We need to move," he urged, urgency coloring his voice. But she felt paralyzed. Brian's eyes were wide, shock shifting through his expression. "Lily," he tried, his voice a broken whisper, but she couldn't respond. All she felt was a gaping chasm opening inside her, swallowing any traces of love she once had for him. Her father, Richard, moved next to Brian, the heaviness of the situation weighing on him. "We need to call for help," he shouted, looking around, panic etched in his features. The cafe swirled in confusion. People hid under tables, some stood frozen, phones trembling in their hands. But then a strange calm washed over Lily. Brian's eyes slowly drifted toward her, a mixture of desperation and something darker flickering behind them. She could feel the tension in the air, like a gathering storm. Just as the sirens outside grew louder, the cafe door burst open again. In walked a woman draped in a lavish fur coat, her presence commanding, striking through the chaos like a jagged bolt of lightning. Lily squinted, her heart thundering wildly. It was her mother, Carmen Mason, a ghost she had long mourned, believed lost to the shadows. "Lily," Carmen called, her voice sharp enough to slice through the pandemonium. "What? How?" Lily stumbled over her words, disbelief crashing over her like a wave. You're alive?" "That's not important right now," Carmen shot back, urgency in her tone. She crossed the room with an unsettling grace, glancing at Brian. "We have to get you out of here, Lily. Now." Lily's mind raced. Did you know? Did you know what he was planning? Remnants of betrayal flicked like fireflies in her chest, igniting old wounds. She felt torn, caught between anger and a longing she couldn't quite shake. Carmen paused, the weight of something larger hidden in her gaze. "Not everything, but I know enough." Suddenly, the back of the cafe exploded into flames. The fiery burst broke through the chaos, the heat lashing against Lily's skin. Screams erupted as people scrambled for the exits. Lily felt her heart drop as she turned back to Brian. He lay gasping, and with each breath, the shadows of their past loomed large. But then, something shifted in the air. Brian's eyes widened even more. "Mum?" he rasped, his hand trailing against the ground. "You were supposed to be gone." Lily froze. "What?" Carmen's face went pale, a story unfolding behind her eyes, intense, wrapped in horror. "What do you mean?" And then the ground trembled. An annoying rumble shook the cafe, sending dust clouds swirling around them. "What's happening?" someone yelled in panic. But Lily couldn't focus. The next moment hit her like a freight train. It was Brian, breathless, eyes wild, fingers shaking as he spoke. "You don't know what you're part of, Lily. We're all connected, bound by blood and secrets." At that moment, Carmen recoiled, a flicker of fear creeping into her eyes. "Brian, stop!" But his words tumbled out, unstoppable as a raging river. "You think I'm the enemy, but we all are. You're part of something bigger than you can imagine." Then, just like that, the lights flickered, plunging the cafe into darkness, leaving everyone stumbling, heartbeats echoing in the silence. In that moment, Lily's world, once so certain, teetered on the brink of chaos, unraveling faster than she could grasp. Her heart raced, doubt coiled tighter. What did he mean? The air thickened with danger as secrets shattered like glass. She needed to know the truth. Her family, her life, everything was a web woven in darkness. What more lay hidden? What other truths were yet to be revealed? As the flames danced and screams echoed, one thing felt clear. She couldn't trust anyone, not even the ones she thought she knew. The stakes were rising, and the storm was just beginning. Lily stood, heart racing, as darkness enveloped them. She felt the heat from the flames, the panic swirling like a whirlwind. "What is happening?" she gasped, looking at Caleb, then at her mother, who moved closer, urgency etched in every feature. "Lily, we can't waste time. We have to go now," Carmen shouted, pulling her in close. The tension exploded around them. Sirens wailed louder, echoing through the cafe. But before Lily could respond, Brian's voice cut through the chaos, chilling and frantic. "You think this will stop me?" He struggled to push himself up, blood seeping through his hand. "You have no idea what I'm capable of." At that moment, another round of gunfire erupted, this time a spray of bullets that shattered the remaining windows. The crowd screamed, ducking for cover. Lily's instincts screamed at her to run, but she was rooted to the ground, fear paralyzing her. Suddenly, a streak of movement caught her eye. The dark figure, stepping through the smoke, moved with a strange confidence. It was one of the men from before, his face twisted in anger. He raised his gun, aiming not at Brian, but at Carmen. "You!" he yelled, fury lighting his eyes. "Look out!" Caleb shouted, fear gripping his voice as he surged forward. But before anyone could react, the man pulled the trigger. A deafening shot rang out. Then, silence. Everything froze. Lily's heart stopped. The bullets had found their mark, and time seemed to stretch infinitely. In that frozen moment, she saw the impossible. Carmen didn't fall. She didn't even flinch. Instead, her mother turned, eyes narrowing, weaving through the smoke like a shadow, with an otherworldly grace. "You should have known better," she said, voice low and cold as ice. A flash of light erupted, a blinding glare that illuminated the cafe as Carmen raised her hand. In seconds, a force swept through the room, knocking the man back, slamming him into the wall as if he were a rag doll. Lily froze, confusion flooding her mind. What was happening? Was her mother a fighter? The boldness of Carmen unleashed something frightening. Brian coughed, eyes wide. "You're one of them," he gasped, panic creeping in. "You're exactly like them." "Like who?" Lily cried, her voice tinged with desperation. "What are you talking about?" Carmen stepped forward, urgency heightened again. "You need to listen to me, Lily. Your life is in danger, more than you understand. There's a world hidden from you, a world we tried to protect you from." "But you were gone," Lily whispered, still grappling with truths crashing around her. "You kept me in the dark. I had to." Carmen's voice cracked, raw emotion spilling out. "It was to keep you safe from—" Before she could finish, the flames surged higher, raging as if responding to their conversation. The scent of smoke burned Lily's throat. "What's happening? What did you protect me from?" From the corner of her eye, she saw Caleb retreat slightly, confusion etched in his expression. But then, shock rolled through the cafe as a figure emerged behind the blast. It was the last man standing, his gun torn from his grip as a gust of wind, vicious and unnatural, pulled him back. And there in the chaos, a form flickered into existence. A woman, ethereal, with piercing green eyes and a glowing aura. It was like stepping into a different realm, one filled with secrets. "Enough!" she boomed, voice resonating with power. "The time for hiding is over." Lily's heart raced, confusion and fear intertwining. Who was she? What did she mean by hiding? There was an age-old energy swirling, threading through everyone in the cafe. And then came the explosion of unexpected clarity. This woman wasn't a stranger. This was her mother's sister, long thought dead. Aunt Alara? She barely managed to breathe before everything moved in slow motion. Brian burst into laughter, but it was hollow, devoid of sanity. "You're all fools. Don't you see? You think you're safe? The darkness won't stop until it claims you." Then in a single moment that sent ripples through the very fabric of their reality, Carmen reached out, intertwining her fingers with Alara, and the air shimmered. "We are family," she said, her tone resolute, "and we will fight." Suddenly, the cafe rocked again, not just with greed for destruction, but with a revelation so startling it brought Lily to her knees. "You are part of this chain, Lily," Aunt Alara declared, her eyes locked on Lily's. "You have power. Our blood runs deep with abilities. The battle isn't just theirs, it's ours, and it starts now." Everything she thought she knew flipped on its head. The stakes soared, a familial legacy intertwining with the present intricacies of betrayal and danger. In that moment, Lily realized her fight was no longer just for survival. It was for her identity. It was time to embrace who she was meant to become. But as cracks in the walls widened, curling shadows danced ominously, she wondered, was she truly ready to face what lay ahead? And what revelations awaited them in this newfound chaos? Lily stood, heart pounding as shadows danced around them. The cafe swirled in chaos. Her mother and aunt exchanged charged glances, the air thick with unspoken truths. She felt adrenaline coursing through her veins, fueling her determination. "We have power, Ilara's words echoed in her mind, but before she could contemplate what that truly meant, Brian let out a pained gasp, drawing all eyes back to him. "You think you can just leave me out of this?" he snarled, anger igniting in his feverish eyes. The chaos around them muted as Lily took a step closer. "Brian, what do you mean?" Her voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. Something was off, deeper than she could grasp. But instead of answering, he raised a trembling finger, pointing at Carmen. "You're no mother to Lily. You've lied to her all her life." Carmen's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Lily's heart dropped. "Mom." "Don't listen to him," Carmen shot back, panic flashing in her eyes. "He's playing mind games." But Brian's laughter cut through her mother's denial like a knife. "You don't even see it. She's lied to you about everything. You're not just her daughter, Lily. You're the key to all of this." His voice dripped with venom, yet there was something almost desperate behind his eyes. "You're part of this world, our world, the legacy of our family. It's a curse and a gift." The room felt like it was spiraling out of control. "What world?" Lily cried, emotions crashing together. Confusion and fear squeezed her chest. "Enough!" Carmen shouted, her voice rising. But as she moved to shield Lily, the lights flickered again. The whole room trembled, dust raining down like the world itself was unraveling. Then everything went white. For a moment, nothing mattered. The brightness swallowed them whole. Lily shielded her eyes, gasping in shock. When the light faded, everything felt different. The cafe lay transformed. The walls pulsed with energy, glimmers swirling like stars. But as reality settled in, she turned to Brian, who now lay trembling, eyes glazed. "No," he gasped. The fear etched into his expression, morphing into a twisted smile. "Welcome to the family, Lily," he whispered, voice slithering like a serpent. "What do you mean?" she shouted, the urgency flooding her veins. But before she could comprehend, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Caleb moved towards Brian, only to pause, caught in a trance. "Caleb, no!" she cried, panic clawing at her throat. But it was too late. Brian's voice flowed over Caleb like a spell, wrapping tightly around him. The fear in Lily's heart expanded. "Brian, stop!" cried Ilara, rushing forward. But as she reached out, a loud crack echoed through the cafe, a window shattering as if breaking apart the new reality. Suddenly, a sharp intake of breath disrupted the tense moment. "What have you done?" Carmen whispered, realization washing over her, horror shadowing her face. Brian's laughter twisted in the air, rising above the chaos. "Don't you see? The darkness is in our blood. We're bound together by choices you made long ago." Adrenaline surged. Lily's chest ached, the truth hovering just out of reach. But then she felt it, the spark within her awakening. Brian was not just a jilted ex. He was part of something darker, something hidden. Her family had not only protected her from the truth, but had also trapped them in it. In that moment, her trust shattered. What had she become? Who truly was her mother? Tears blurred her vision as she turned toward Carmen, heartbreak twisting together with anger. But as she opened her mouth to question everything, the ground trembled again. A shadow flickered across Brian's face, something sinister dawning. "You'll regret this, Lily. The truth comes with a price." A wave of energy surged, ripping through the cafe, gusts swirling around them. And just like that, darkness echoed louder than the chaos. The stakes had never felt so high. In a single blink, her world warped, and the question screamed beneath all of it. What had she truly unleashed? Lily stood there, heart pounding, breath stilted as Brian's words hung in the air like a low fog. The shadows pulsed around them, cloaked in tension and the acrid scent of smoke. Her thoughts raced, piecing together fragments while the world crumbled. Could it be true? Could Brian hold the key to her past? but Brian's laughter twisted the air even tighter. "You think you're something special?" He coughed, blood trickling from his mouth, the sharp metallic scent stinging Lily's nose. "You're nothing but a pawn in a game far bigger than you can grasp." Before she could reply, a deafening crash echoed through the room. A pillar collapsed, sending a cascade of dust and debris swirling. People shrieked, scrambling for safety. But Lily couldn't tear her gaze from Brian, fear and confusion swelling in her gut. Then, just as she opened her mouth to try to bring him back down to reality, everything shattered. A bright flash surged from the center of the cafe, a blinding light enveloping Brian, who was now standing, not gasping in agony, but glowing, pulsing with unnatural energy. "I am not just a pawn," he roared, voice booming as if amplified by some unseen force. The glow expanded, wrapping around him like a thick veil. "You don't even know who you're fighting against." The air crackled. As if reality shifted, a whole new world opened. Shadows flickered, and Lily's surroundings took on an ethereal glow. She squinted against the brightness, heart racing faster than ever. And then a scream rang through, harsh and piercing. It was Caleb. "Lily, look out!" He lunged forward, trying to reach her, but a sudden shockwave sent him crashing backward into a wall. She felt helpless, rooted, as terror clawed at the edges of her mind. Brian spun, arms outstretched, eyes ablaze as he absorbed the newfound energy. "You've all been living lies. You think this is all just coincidence?" Lily felt the floor beneath her tremble, fear ricocheting in her chest. "Stop!" she yelled, voice cracking. "Stop this madness!" But Brian didn't hear. Instead, the light exploded outward like a shockwave. It enveloped everything, warping reality itself, sending people tumbling with its force. In the chaos, Lily caught glimpses of everything: broken windows, terrified faces, angry shouts, all twisted and distant, as if glimpsing another universe. Then she felt that spark inside her ignite. Everything she had ignored, all the whispers of her mother and aunt, surged forward. Something inside her awoke, and suddenly everything made sense. And then time stopped. A shadow fell over her, blocking the light. She turned to see her mother, Carmen, her face expressionless, but her eyes full of regret, a depth of pain that struck like a bolt of lightning. "Lily, I didn't want this for you, but you have to choose." "What are you talking about?" Lily shouted, anger flaring. But it was too late to hold back. "You kept me in the dark all my life, and now you're asking me to choose while he—" A rattle erupted. Noise filled with chaos. Brian wasn't just glowing. He was transforming. And just as quickly, a figure stepped from the light beside him. Another woman, dressed in a gown shimmering like stars, her face serene yet fierce. "Welcome home, dear," she spoke, voice melodic yet underscored with authority. "You are not just Lily Mason. Your true name is Seraphina. You belong to our lineage, a lineage of guardians." Lily gasped, her heart dropping. The cafe spun around her, a whirlwind of shock and disbelief. "What? No, that can't be!" But the weight of her mother's complicity shattered her. Every truth she clung to fragmented. Could it be? Was she truly destined for something great or something dark? And as the realization crashed over her, everything tilted. The stakes escalated. The world around her trembled, Brian and the new woman pulsing with a fierce energy, shadows of darkness licking at the edges. "Will you fight for your family, Lily?" Brian whispered, voice softer now, but laced with something ominous. "Or will you turn your back on your true nature?" Lily's mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle before her. The reality of her identity came crashing down like a wave, leaving nothing but confusion, anger, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. As the shadows thickened and the brightness dimmed, she stood at the crux of everything: her identity, her family, and the danger closing in from all sides. What was she truly meant to become? The questions clawed at her, and the storm within roared louder than before, ready to drown her in uncertainty. And all she could think was, how could she choose when she didn't even know what she was fighting for? Lily's heart raced in the shifting chaos. Brian glowed with a dark light, his body pulsing with energy. Her mind struggled to accept the reality of her family's legacy. The cafe, once filled with anticipation, now buzzed with tension and fear. "Fight for your family, Lily," Elara's voice thundered, anchoring her in the whirlwind of emotions. But doubt gnawed at her. Was she truly ready for this battle? The room danced with flickering lights and shadows. Caleb lay on the ground, dazed but fierce. "Lily, please." His voice broke through the confusion, grounding her. "You have to stand up. We can't let him win." Tears filled her eyes as she turned back to him. "What if I don't know how?" Her voice wavered, crushed under the weight of uncertainty. But Brian's laughter rang out, echoing through the chaos. "You think you can change this? You're bound by blood. The darkness in our family will always come for you." Suddenly, Carmen reached forward, her hand glowing with an energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Lily, you must embrace who you are." The warmth spread through Lily, igniting something deep within. "I refuse to be a pawn," she shouted, finding strength in her voice. In that moment, she understood. This was more than family. This was about her identity, her power. The air crackled with tension as she focused her thoughts, visualizing that spark glowing brighter. "No more hiding," she declared, determination igniting her heart. She couldn't wait any longer. As if summoned by her resolve, a surge of energy flowed through her. Shadows intertwined, swirling around her like fierce whispers of ancient power. The cafe dimmed, the world outside disappearing as she felt grounded, connected to something greater. "All of you," she shouted, turning toward the room, toward the crowd, "are part of this too. We aren't alone." With that, the energy enveloped everyone, connecting them in a shared purpose, a common fight. Brian's expression shifted, confusion spiraling into fear as the space around him wavered. "You can't!" he screamed, but it was too late. The shadows circled him, fueled by their collective strength, and then the burst of energy exploded outward, illuminating the cafe with a blinding light. Lily felt it wash over her, filling her with hope. When the light faded, Brian lay motionless, the aura vanishing, leaving behind only remnants of darkness. Silence wrapped the room, heavy yet charged with relief. Caleb rose, brushing off dust. "You did it, Lily. You really did it." His eyes sparkled with pride. She turned to find her mother and aunt embracing, tears in their eyes. "I'm so proud of you," Carmen whispered. "You found your strength." The crowd began to murmur, a sense of hope threading through the chaos. They had faced darkness together, and somehow it brought them closer. "Is it over?" A voice quivered from the back. Despite the uncertainty, Lily felt the weight lift. For now, they were safe. But in the pit of her stomach, a sense of foreboding remained. Brian's last words echoed in her mind. They had won this battle, but what of the future? What shadows lurked beyond the horizon? "You're not just Lily Mason," Elara said softly, stepping closer. "You're a guardian. There's more for you to understand." Lily's heart thudded. She felt the challenge before her, and deep down, something flickered, a will to learn, to fight. As the cafe buzzed back to life around her, she realized this was not just a farewell to darkness, but an invitation to embrace her true self. The questions piled high, ready to take them on. "Let's go, Lily," Caleb said, taking her hand. "We've got a journey ahead." "Together," she replied, determination surging brighter than the chaos that had ruled her life. But as they stepped out into the world awaiting them, one thing lingered. What lay ahead? Only time would reveal the truth. And now, dear friends, it's time to act. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss out on exclusive stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to boost the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait 1 second more. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know what comes next. Your support shapes this journey, and we can't do it without you.